I will be taking donations for the large cathedral auditorium to house the talent that we have in our community. I'm serious. Wow, thank you, Terry. So, probably since the beginning of this year, I have this custom come low temperature or high temperature, and that is I make my coffee in the morning and then I go on to our funky little sun porch and drink it outside. So sometimes I've got many layers on as I'm drinking my coffee. And I live within the perimeter, which I hear is acceptable if I'm going to be here in Atlanta. And being in the perimeter, I have a neighbor who has a rooster within the perimeter of Atlanta. So at 6:18 every morning. There is this noise. And then lately, sometime since the beginning of the year, there has been a woodpecker that has come. It's the most incredible thing, and it's not pecking on wood. I would swear to God that it's not pecking on wood. It's pecking on something like a cymbal. Because it's just this like and it's just fascinating. So I've got and if you have any inclination into the mystery of animal totems, I look at what woodpecker means, and we are familiar with the terminology that opportunity is always knocking on our door. So part of the totem energy of a woodpecker is it's representational of and a reminder to the fact that opportunity is right in front of us. Are you paying attention? And so he's been doing this for most of this year. And the rooster is also in its totem energy about recognition. Recognition of the fact that there is always a dawn after the darkness. And so those two things, I'm sitting with this constantly and just feeling that and realizing how awesome and special it is that which is universe, that which is God, that which is vibration and energy is constantly reminding us to recognize that there is light, the constancy of light, the return of light, and that opportunity is always knocking at our door. So I'm having church every morning with my coffee. And when you start to think about the bigger picture of that and the way in which our world works, and by our world, I'm not talking about the human world. I'm not talking about the illusional world where everybody's in competition with one another. I'm talking about the spiritual world, the true vibrational purity and the energy that is the emanation, the unpolluted emanation of that which we call God. So today, instead of saying God all the time, sometimes I'm going to say frequency. Sometimes I'm going to say love. Sometimes I'm going to say vibration. Sometimes I'm going to say energy. But when we talk about this thing, they're all the same thing. They are unpolluted. They are indefinable. They are indefatigable. They are boundless. They are beyond description, and they are constant, and they are eternal. And so today, when we talk about that the highest God, so that would be the highest understanding of love, and the innermost God, or the innermost dwelling place of the unpolluted, unadulterated sense of love, is one love. The highest God and the innermost God is one God. The highest frequency, the highest vibrational energy, and the internal energy is one energy. And when we start to look at that and move beyond just kind of bumper sticker, cliched understanding and really begin to dive deep into the responsibility of that, then you and I are in for a very fascinating reawakening to the reason why we are here. And so when we start to understand that, Ernest Holmes says that we believe in the unity of all life, the rooster and the woodpecker. We believe in the unity of all life, and that the highest God, that which is love and the energy, and the innermost God is one God. And so Science of Mind teaches that even though we are not the whole of God. God is certainly the whole of what we are. So let me explain that. You are absorbed in the totality of that endless energy, but you are not the total summation of that energy, right? So you are absorbed in the purity and the indefinable explanation and the unadulterated and the pure absolutism of love. You are that, but you are not all of that. But you are absorbed in that. So that means that all of you is absorbed in that to the degree of your participation and your recognition and your willingness to go to strip away, to listen, to recognize that the light is coming, to understand that opportunity is knocking at your door. But you know what the woodpecker was saying? He wasn't talking about earthly opportunity. He wasn't talking about get your resume in order so you can get that job. The woodpecker was not referring to how many things that you can physically accumulate in your house. It wasn't talking about your house. It wasn't talking about a car. It wasn't talking about any of those opportunistic things. What the woodpecker and the energy of that totem was saying is that the opportunity is constantly knocking at the door of your consciousness to remind you that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. That means that you then stand at the precipice of such greatness that it would blow your own mind if you were willing to participate. How does one participate? One participates by no longer wasting any time of marginalization, particularly towards the self. No one begins to waste any more time with divisive rhetoric. One simply goes, my mission here is to realize that the highest God and the innermost God is one God. If I cannot help but be absorbed in that, then what is my job description? What is my job description as a divine being in a human body? And it is a constancy of stripping away. As we've often said, this path then is not a path of learning. This path is a path of unlearning and stripping away and getting back to the purity and the first cause to what you and I are all about. So Ernest Holmes, our founder, says, we invite ourselves to do what is ours to do. For some reason, those words just popped out to me. What is ours to do? What is ours to do? What is ours to do? Do you believe that you are on a mission? Do you believe it's mission possible? Hashtag mission possible. And if you and I are on a mission, then what is ours to do missionally? In terms of the energy and the contribution that we are here to bring to the planet. I used to say, and I'm starting to check myself on this, I used to say there's no such thing as wasted time. I'm reconsidering that. I'm reconsidering the fact that time then, that which is not linear time, but the time that you and I as a soul being are here to express, we don't want to waste that. You know, we have that expression, particularly in our youth, about getting wasted. Let's go get wasted. And I realize that that term doesn't stay put just in our youth, that many of us are still getting wasted in terms of our mission with regards to what it is that we are here to do. And so what is ours to do is to be the complete totality, to give of ourselves to that in order to speak, to act, to think, to implement, to embody that which we understand God to be, or energy to be, or the frequency to be. And so what is ours to do with complete faith that whatever else is necessary, no matter how close or how far, how small or big, how simple or complex, or how important or unimportant it may seem, it is being done by that energy in all of its infinite divinity. It is being done by the God within you. It is being done by the frequency. It is being done by the absolute love that is inside of you. Our prayer then, our prayer of intention intentionality sets the permission of that energy in motion. And the vast depths and the distances to which that energy can converge upon us is in perfect order, that we may have that which we have demanded in even greater and grander ways than we ourselves could have imagined. All of that is saying, come on. Come on, come to the leading edge, come to the leading edge, come to the place that is unfamiliar, come to that which is uncomfortable so you can see for yourself the dynamic experience of what it is that you are capable of, because the highest God and the innermost God is one God. And that which is God, which you are, knows no limitation other than that which is self-imposed and unconscious. And so are we wasting our time? Or are we standing hyper in attention to be able to be in receivership of what that is? Emily Cady, whose books, she was a great writer towards the end of the 1800s, and her books are used by the Unity movement. And she wrote, "In that which is Christ or God, or as she said, the consciousness of the indwelling divine spirit, we know that every man and woman is our father and our mother, our brother and our sister, that nothing is our own, but all is God because all is God." Nothing is our own. So I really had to stop and think about that. I go back to what Ernest said, what is ours to do? Emily Cady says, there's nothing that you and I own. Nothing is our own. And so what is ours to do then if I own nothing? Is to begin to strip away the illusion of the acquisition of stuff. So that means that if the highest God and the innermost God is one God, and the same that is for me is for you, if I'm my mother, my father, my brother, my sister, I am united with that, then whatever it is that I bring into my world of manifestation, I must share with the rest of the world. If I am to be in alignment with that highest principle. If I mistakenly fall under the illusion that whatever I accessed from the realm of manifestation is limited, so I must keep it safe, and I keep it from you, then I have fallen over the precipice of that grand illusion, and I am out of alignment with my true mission. If she says that nothing is our own, then I want you to begin to see how we live a very illusional life. So I was telling you today, those moments of paradox, sitting back in the office, reflecting on all of the activity of the week, thinking about David Aurelio and just what community is, and realizing that we are ceaselessly reminded that our reacquaintance with personal value and worth is vital in order for elevation and evolution to be everything its inherent nature hungers to be. Simply put, when you choose to honor yourself through mindful thinking, the rest of the world becomes more mindful. When you choose that for your personalized self, then the world becomes more mindful. When you choose more degrees of love, the world becomes that much more loving. When I realize that I own nothing, that everything I have is a universal offering, then somehow, some way, the universe becomes more prosperous. So everything then vibrates from me if I'm a part of the great vibration. Everything emanates from me energetically if I am a part of the great energy. And so you start to see, I want for nothing and I own nothing. Because I what? I share it with all. Because what I have technically is yours. Anybody want this suit? I got these shoes. Everything. But you start to see how then you and I are having to straddle two worlds. We are straddling the world of humanity and we are straddling the world of spirituality. Humanity tells us, no, you must covet, you must protect, you must guard what it is that you have. The world of spirituality says you own none of that. You're not taking any of that with you. You realize that. You know that house that you're saving up for? The house that you have, the one that's being remodeled, the new bathtub that you put in, you're not taking that with you. That that low flush toilet that you just put in, you're not taking that with you. That amazing Maserati or that Prius, whichever your style is, you're not taking that with you. If you figure out how to do that, let us all know. And so I start to think of the way in which mass-wide, generationally, humanity has fallen under the illusion that somehow we have to be protective of these things. Do you see subliminally what that's telling you? If I have to be protective of my stuff, if I think that I own this stuff when I really don't own anything, if I think I own it though, I'm telling my subconscious that there is not enough. I'm also feeding my subconscious that I am in separation between the rest of everyone else. So I was thinking years ago when I was in China, and I went to Xi'an. Any of you ever seen the terracotta warriors of Xi'an in China? So in 1974, some farmers were farming in a field, and they came upon this massive pit, and they uncovered these warriors made out of clay, these terracotta warriors that were built under the rule of the first emperor of China back in 212 BC. And it's estimated that he had more than 700,000 people making terracotta warriors and terracotta horses because he was going to take them with them into the next life. And so he really wanted to make sure he was ready in the next life with all of these things. Imagine his surprise. But even worse, imagine if you were one of the 700,000 people and you spent your entire life making clay statues and you went, damn it. None of them made it over to the next side. And so you start to think of the fact that even though we laugh, I want you to look at the comparison of the way in which we are doing the same thing in some degree. I'm prepping and taking and hoarding things with the guise that somehow in the future that what I'm hoarding is then going to make my future easier, because all of humanity tells me that that's the way that you're supposed to do it. But if the highest God and the innermost God is one God, then doesn't it stand to reason that if I'm hoarding and holding anything, I'm out of alignment with that? It's not that that isn't in existence, but I'm not in the frequency or the highest vibration to be able to receive that. So then I start to look at somebody like a Gandhi or a Mother Teresa who devotes their entire life to feeding and giving and supplying and educating and loving and taking and wiping and cleaning and putting and the Samaritan energy of lifting something up or someone up or some collectives up and putting them out into the world, because they realize that by doing that, they are doing that within themselves as well. That becomes, imagine a world where everyone woke up and they said, oh my God, what's mine is yours. There would be no hunger. Imagine a world where whatever was accumulated through currency was like, hey, what do you need? There would be no poverty. There would be no war. There would be no division in religion or dissection of gods, because we would understand that there's only one power. And that's the world, I want you to hear me, that is the world that does exist, that's waiting for the rest of us to become conscious of that. And I think about how we all operate in different degrees of the illusion. My oldest sister, I'm the youngest, and my oldest sister, Brenda, we came from nothing. And so you start to see how people acclimate as they move into life and as they age. And so for her, the remedy for her was, if I ever get my hands on anything, I'm going to keep it. And boy, did she. She kept everything. Everything. She raised 3 children. She still had their baby furniture up in the attic when they were teenagers. Every single size of clothing that she ever wore, and she was in many different sizes, she kept everything. She accumulated everything until suddenly the house became a hoarding kind of situation. But to her, it was security. And you walked in, and the picture on the wall was not just a picture. Then it had a ribbon, and on the ribbon there was a thing, and then on that thing there was a thing, and then there, and it was just, there was nowhere to move, and you couldn't breathe. And the energy in that place was stagnant. But for her, in her illusion, that was the way in which she pacified the idea of not having enough. And she died with that stagnant energy and all of those things which were someday going to be put into a store that she was going to, the someday. And so when you understand that the divine energy and the innermost energy is one energy, how can any of us be off frequency that much that we can live our entire lives just short of tuning in to the proper way and the proper avenues and the proper channels for us to be able to live in opulence and freedom? How can that be? And it's simply unconsciousness. It's simply misguided information. It's simply unawareness. And that's why becoming self-aware is the biggest thing that is afforded us on this journey, because the more that I become self-aware, the more I realize I'm not taking anything with me. I don't know who it was, but they said something like, when I go to my grave, I want to be used up. I want to have a cocktail in one hand and chocolate in the other, and I want to slide on in going, woohoo! As if I've done every single thing that I set my heart to do. And I love the sentiment of that, because it's not reckless, it's actually in alignment. How can I love more? How can I risk more? Realizing that the word risk is actually a fallacy. How can I be in the leading edge sensibility? How can I say yes more? I was talking to somebody this week, and she was telling me her story, and she said, I went on this adventure, and my goal was that whatever came my way, I had to say yes to. I loved that. Because if we're so predisposed to not saying yes, we go, no, and she goes, yes. Only to realize that by saying yes opens up a window of opportunity energetically. Yes. I have a little gas too. Yes. Say yes. Is the house that you purchased really yours? Can you take it with you? No. Is the career position really yours? Can you take it with you? Is the extensive portfolio really yours? Can you take that with you? And so you start to see historically how many of us are sleepwalking. But guess what we take with us? Are you ready for this? Guess what we do take with us? We take our consciousness. We take our self-awareness. We take with us all of the peeling away and all of the unveiling and all of the uncovering to that purity where we see the alignment of the highest God and the innermost God is one God. We take that with us. That's why when you walk away from conversation with somebody and you go, my God, they're an old soul. Where did that term come from? Somehow, some way, there is a wisdom. Mostly it seems beyond their years. You're in presence of a child, and the child just espouses truth because they haven't put the shrouds and the veils back on. And so we are on this quest then to realize and to understand that that which is unimaginable in scope and in power and in creativity and in productivity and in prosperity and in love is inside of me. And it's just one. And then, oh my God, I start to see, you're not you, I'm not me, it's just one. This is all one big activity, individualized in degrees of self-awareness. And so when I really fall upon that idea and I understand that, as H. Emily Cady says, that nothing is our own. And she goes, and because we know this, we give as we work without thought or hope of return, because God flows through us to others. Then there's that word, unconditional. Unconditional. When was the last time that you were the recipient of unconditional love? Where someone simply said, wow, and didn't want anything in return. You know what I've noticed? We're able to do that better with strangers. You know those random acts of kindness that we were doing several years ago, where you would just go and you would offer a good deed and you didn't want anything in return. Rarely do we seem to do that with the people that we love the most, with the people that we see every day. We become complacent with or used to the fact that they're just there. And I want to give you an opportunity today to remember and to remind ourselves, myself included, that those who are around us are just as deserving of the alignment of that unconditional love as the stranger that we come in contact with. So the way in which we practice, the way in which we move into greater alignment, the way in which we begin to own that unconditionality is to begin to do it. We often teach in our classes, if you want to learn how to pray affirmatively, start praying affirmatively. And in the doing of that, we begin to exercise the muscle of consciousness where we realize that nothing is outside of me and everything that I desire is within me. And that's the connection. And that's the vision. And that's the mission. And that's the purpose. And that's the reason why you and I are here. You are a spiritual being. Are you ready for this? You are a spiritual being having a spiritual experience in human degree. Because the experience that you're having is also spiritual. It's also a part of the one, but you are having it in human degrees, meaning human sound bites and human pieces of self-awareness. So the person over here who is really devoted to spiritual practice, their degree might be a little more expansive in their spiritual experience than the person over here who's never done anything. You're still having a spiritual experience, but you get that it's in these gradients levels. It's in this degree level. And so what will it take for you and I to realize what liberation will sweep over you when you begin to understand that the universe and the mighty woodpecker is trying to tell you opportunity is knocking at your door. The rooster is saying, wake up and recognize that the light is here constantly, 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 constantly. Why would you waste one more day? One more day in the frivolity and in the fear and in the anxiety of separation, when that has no relevance for you and I other than the degree that we give it permission. And that is our opportunity. Because the highest expression of all that is, and the innermost understanding of the all that is one. And so it is. Hi, I'm David Ault, and I simply want to say thanks. Thanks for taking the time to watch our broadcast here at Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta. We have a vision, and that vision is to reawaken all to their spiritual magnificence. And one of the ways that we are able to do that is through this very medium of broadcasting. So if you got anything out of this, if you felt in any way inspired, or if something spoke to you directly, then I extend an invitation to you to become a part of our family by donating. And there are many ways in order for you to be able to do that. One is to simply go to our website at slca.com, and there you will find all different kinds of prompts that will help you support what it is that we are doing here in Atlanta. One way is to become a pledger. That means that you decide on a monthly basis that you are going to help us with this vision. Another way is to donate through our management system called Fellowship One, another through PayPal, and another even easier way is on your cell phone. You can do what's called text to tithe, and that number is 404-796-7030. Again, thank you so much for your support, and I invite you to come back weekly to see what it is that we're up to. Blessings.